So one time I visited my friend and she wanted me to see this old vintage store near her place. I said sure, so we walked around and saw a bunch of cool, old neat stuff like memorabilia dated as early from the 1920s. As I wandered around, I noticed one spot in particular in the store that gave me really bad vibes. There wasn't anything specific in there, just a chair, some baseball cards, old coins and buttons, and maybe an old 1950s football helmet. But it just felt off. I felt really sad, uncomfortable, and just weird. When it comes to artifacts or objects that are passed down, we never know what energies they're carrying. Whether or not you believe items carry memories or spiritual connections or energies, stick around and let's welcome our top 10 disturbing historical artifacts that are cursed. Number 10. The Basano Vase. Let's say you want to get married someday or something, and typically guests would bring a gift to congratulate you for your marriage as a celebration. Some give cards, money, a nice note on your wish list, and for royals, receiving a vase as a wedding present wasn't uncommon, especially if it looked expensive. That's what one woman received the day of her wedding. A vase. But this vase was made of silver and rather plain looking. There were no design markings or decorations, but this vase would contain a curse that lurked to take lives for the next 5 centuries. The woman who received the vase for her wedding got a Basano vase in the 15th century in a northern village. Weighing at 4 pounds of silver, the woman decided to keep it in her room for safekeeping. When it was time for the wedding to start, as they seemed to receive gifts before the reception, she was found dead holding onto the vase as by her soon-to-be husband. After the funeral, the Basano vase was given to a family member for safekeeping, and within days, they also died. At the time, no one had any clue if the vase was the cause, and when it was given to another family member, they too had passed away. After that, the family concluded to go to a priest, and they believe whoever gifted the vase to the bride had cursed it. They ended up burying the vase near the church where the priest resided as per instruction. Its existence was in a deep slumber until 500 years later. In 1988, a man dug up the vase and within it had a note. Beware, this vase brings death. The man ignores the note and brings it to an auction house, as it was sold quickly to a local pharmacist. 3 months later, the pharmacist passed away. The family sold the vase to a doctor and months later he also died. After many toss-arounds, it landed in the hands of a police officer who caught an archaeologist trying to get rid of it. The officer ended up burying the vase, as it is still nowhere to be found. Number 9. Pompeii Artifacts. Firstly, stop stealing things from places you shouldn't be stealing from, like cultural landmarks or places of great importance of the people who live there. Canadian woman sends back pilfered ceramics back to Pompeii and blamed them after accumulating years of bad luck. See, the tourists stole fragments from the ancient city roughly over 17 years ago and claimed these pieces were cursed, as stated how it carried so much negative energy as it was linked to that of the land of destruction. For 95 years, Pompeii was once a thriving Roman city in Italy, located just southeast of Naples. The once glorious city was then suddenly buried in volcanic ash after the catastrophe that was caused by the eruption of Mount Vesuvius in 79 AD. After being laid dormant till the 16th century, Pompeii was then found and revamped its life into the classical world. Sadly, Italy has to deal with so many tourists stealing historical pieces from its ancient city and wishes people to just stop. As for the tourist who returned the item, she states her family kept having financial problems and even suffered breast cancer twice, and after a second mastectomy, the 36-year-old figured the source must have been from the item she had stolen many years ago. It could have been bad luck, or it could have just been guilt, who knows. In the note that carried the pilfered pieces, she had written that they took the artifacts without thinking of the pain and suffering of those who experienced the eruption of Mount Vesuvius or their death. She wishes the soul's peace and hopes things go back to normal. Number 8. The Hope Diamond. Diamonds are a girl's best friend. Unless it's the Hope Diamond, then please put it back where you found it. Weighing at 45 carats, a gorgeous cut and color of violet and rare blues, it's also considered one of the few handful of haunted gems in the world. Discovered and cut from a mine in India, there has been speculation that this diamond was stolen from the forehead or eye off the statue of the Hindu goddess Sita, who represents courage, purity, dedication, loyalty, and sacrifice. Considering who this goddess is and what she represents, the result of the jewels being stolen off of her resulted the thief in subjecting to a very unfortunate and extremely untimely death. The aftermath of the diamond was then passed along to different owners, from French merchants like Jean Le Tavernier getting mauled by wild dogs to the French royals like Princess de Lamballe, who died in the massacre during the French Revolution. After the French Revolution, the diamond was lost to a collector in 1792 named Henry Philip Hope came across the diamond and acquired it, hence renaming the diamond Hope Diamond. After many misfortunes and strange incidences associated with the diamond eventually laid to rest when Henry Winston had donated it to the Smithsonian in 1958. Ever since then, no one has been cursed so far. Number 7. Delhi Purple Sapphire. Another diamond in the rough, or more or less a Delhi Purple Sapphire, known as the Gem of Sorrow. This does not bring accidental death, but deep misfortune and sorrow. It was rumored to be stolen during the mutiny in 1857 in India by a British soldier from the temple of Indra, the Hindu god of war and weather. After it was acquired by a Bengali cavalryman, Colonel W. Ferris, he took the sapphire home. As soon as he brought it to England, he began to suffer a series of extreme financial misfortunes, which brought his family to a brink of collapse. At first, the colonel blamed his own poor judgment when every single family member suffered a series of illness. He then turned to the gem. He didn't think much of the gem, but still he wanted to get rid of it. So he decided to pass it along to a family friend who ended up taking his own life. His greatest fear came true, and he decided to pass the gem to a scientist and writer named Edward Heron Allen in 1890. Once again, the sapphire in possession gave nothing but misfortune to the scientist, who eventually gave up all reason and logic attributed to the stone. In 1902, he was very reluctantly gave up the stone to a friend who wanted to try the sapphire's theories out. Again, more misfortunes accumulated with the stone. He returned the gem back to Edward, who, yes, had more misfortunes. He sent the sapphire to his bank, locked into 7 boxes with good luck charms with a note, "Do not open until after my death." After he had passed away, his daughter wisely sent the Delhi purple sapphire to the Natural History Museum, where it stayed until 1972. The stone was stuck in a drawer till a curator named Peter Tandy uncovered the sapphire with a note enclosing stating, "Whoever opens this box, do whatever you want. My advice, however, is to throw it into the sea." The mysterious Delhi purple sapphire is now permanently on display as part of London's Natural History Museum's vault collection. Although we could do a Titanic moment and toss the sapphire into the ocean, personally, in the words of Mike Wazowski from Monsters Inc., put that thing back where it came from, or so help me. Number 6. King Tut's cursed trumpets that summon wars. When King Tut's tomb was found in 1922, the curses that followed suit in covering this tomb unleashed without restraint on those who unearthed it. As there were many items discovered in his burial ground, one in particular brought a lot of attention, to the point where its discovery affected our modern world. An ancient set of wooden, silver, and bronze trumpets. All wonderful, but one possibly cursed one as well. In 1939, the Egyptian Antiquities Services convinced his BBC radio to broadcast the trumpet sound for all to hear, as a way to invite those to experience the world of ancient Egypt. However, once the trumpets were heard, a few months later, World War II broke out. The earliest record of these trumpets in Egypt seems to be used specifically for military purposes, as a way to alert and even direct soldiers on the battlefield. Egyptian archaeologists such as Zahi Hawass even believed that the trumpets may have magical powers associated to war. Being a supporter of the idea of the trumpets are cursed, it seems to be that every time the trumpets were played, a war seems to break out shortly after. Like in 1967, moments after the trumpet was played by a student, the Six-Day War occurred. In 1990, again, another student played the trumpet, the Gulf War happened shortly after. And after 2011, a revolution broke out that affected thousands. Not saying the trumpet is necessarily directly linked, but for ancient Egypt, it is part of their fascinating history. You can actually hear the record of the trumpet sound online, just don't go looking for the actual trumpet and try playing it. You already have enough problems in the world. Seriously, please don't do it. Number 5. The Crying Boy. What a little fire starter. At least that's what happens when you purchase a copy of Italian painter Giovanni Bragolini's The Crying Boy. Although there are alternate versions of this painting around the world, the painting has been widely associated as being cursed. In 1985, an Essex firefighter claimed that the undamaged copies of the painting were found in the ruins of burnt houses. By the end of November, news spread rumors of the painting being cursed, to the point where even organized bonfires were made for the paintings to test the theories. In conclusion, after researchers looked over the contents of the paintings, discovered the prints were being treated with a varnish that contains a fire retardant, and since the paintings fell face down, actually aided the paintings from being burnt. Still doesn't explain the fire though. Seems that every person who has purchased the painting in 1985 had unexplained fires. Even another fireman, Peter Hall, who noted the fires seeing the paintings, told his brother Rob Hall, who did not believe in the story, he had purposely bought a copy of the painting, and moments later, his house burnt down. Seeing the painting was fine, Rob got so upset he put his boot through the painting. But hey, if you see your house on fire, just know the painting's okay. Number 4. Bubsy's Stoop Chair. Don't sit on that, you're going to die, is what many would warn those who bear witness of the Busby Stoop Chair, or the dead man's chair. The chair was cursed by the murderer Thomas Busby before his execution in 1702 in North Yorkshire. Those who found themselves leisurely sitting on the chair found themselves leisurely in the grave. But it's just a chair. What a random object to curse, let alone be worried to sit on. But when Busby was arrested, he was arrested on that chair. He was drunk and spouted, "Anyone who sits on my chair will die," which pretty much through some much optimism eventually came true, as several, including a Second World War Canadian soldier, sat on the chair at one point and died in a bombing mission. Lots of fatal accidents seems to be linked to that chair, and eventually the chair was just left hanging in a museum to stop intriguing people from trying to sit on it. Number 3. Portrait of a Lady. Juan Luna and Antonio Luna are beloved brothers of the Filipino people, as one became a famous world-class artist and the other fought as a revolutionary leader during the Filipino-American War. For Juan Luna, the famous Filipino painter, he was known, like his brother, to have violent outbursts, and the women who were involved with them sadly dealt with the aftermath. Juan Luna apparently was so much in love with his wife, Maria de la Paz Padro de Tavera, or simply Paz, that he created a painting of her after he was accepted as a painter at the Salon de Paris, a prestigious annual exhibition in the Western world at the time. He created 2 paintings, Odalisque and Mi Novia, which was also known as the painting or the portrait of a lady. However, it wasn't until a man named Monsieur Dussac came into their lives which became a major source of jealousy for Juan Luna. Leading to domestic violence dispute, Paz escaped the residence and decided to reside in a home where Dussac happened to also be. Upon learning this, Juan shot Paz as well as his mother-in-law in that very home. Because of this, the painting was rumored to be cursed, and those who obtained the painting fell to the curse and the misfortune that it carried. Some even say Paz's restless ghost lingers in the painting. The irony, however, is that Paz and the woman in the painting don't look alike at all, as the woman in the painting carried more Caucasian features, whereas Paz has more darker skin and was 100% Filipina. Turns out the woman might have been another model Luna has met a French woman named Angel Duché. Either way, the painting held a lot of trauma for the pair and is just a reminder of how dangerous jealousy can be. Number 2. The dark mirror. There's a saying that mirrors or black glass are key portals to another world. Some say there's a version of ourselves past the mirror, past our reflection with secrets we don't know, or it could just be a really good looking person looking back. But at the Mobile Museum of the Unexplained, there is the one mirror, a mysterious reflector which seems to take a life on its own. The museum was able to purchase the item from the original owner attending a psychic fair at the Columbus, Ohio area. That same owner said they were left with upsetting visions while gazing into the scrying mirror's dark reflection. That same owner said they were left with upsetting visions while gazing into the scrying mirror's dark reflection. According to one who would visit and see the mirror, they too reported similar phenomena. They reported uncomfortable sightings, visions, and even seeing their own corpse while looking into the reflective glass. Visitors have even noted their own reflection age, smile, wink, and even disappear. Number 1. Annabelle Doll. From famous horror flicks like The Nun, The Conjuring, The Curse of La Llorona, and of course Annabelle, are all inspired by the Annabelle doll, which has been noted as one of the most famous cursed items around the world. Originally, the Annabelle doll does not look like how it does in the movies, but it actually is a common Raggedy Ann doll. The character Raggedy Ann was created by American writer Johnny Gruelle for his children illustrated book series. It wasn't until 1915 he received a US patent to make it into an actual doll. The history of the original Annabelle is still unclear, as it was a gift to a student nurse back in 1971. The doll began to behave in ways that the student nurse couldn't explain, and after talking to a psychic medium, she was informed that the doll's name was actually Annabelle. After many unexplained malicious and frightening behavior exhibited by the doll, that's when the legendary paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren came across the case. They decided to move the doll to their occult museum in a glass box as it is now noted to be demonically possessed. Although there are many who dismisses the doll as just a mix of pop culture and paranormal folklore, and it could just be a form of finding supernatural evil in modern settings, the doll in itself, as many others, still stirs up a good spook. Whether or not these items are cursed, it's totally up to you, but you can't deny that sometimes whenever we come across something strange or different, you can't explain why it scares you. It just does. Anyways, thanks for watching. My name is Jessa. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye!